following episode most likely contains graphic language, details of violence, and murder, and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 49 of Murder with My Mother, the true crime podcast where I talk murder with my mother.
Hey, everybody.
My 50-year-old mother.
Oh.
It was just Mom's birthday on October 3rd.
Yep.
The best was when she told someone the other day, like, my birthday's October 2nd. And I'm like, your birthday's October 3rd. But
I guess the older you get, the more you forget stuff. So I'm learning that as I go, I guess.
Yeah.
But I honestly had probably the most attentive birthday I've ever had.
Which I'm sure you loved because you love attention. So just kidding. Mom doesn't even like to be sung happy birthday.
And I hate when people sing happy birthday to me. And it happened to me literally probably about 15 times on Tuesday. So I just sat there like this. I get that face. I hate it. I've always hated it.
Yeah, you have.
But I did like the gifts. So
she got
shout out
lots
to
of
everyone
gifts.
that gave me lots of gifts.
Sorry, Auntie Beth. She got her like the nicest bottle of wine, and then I just fucking knocked it off the table, smashed it all over the ground. But
Yeah.
I'll get you a new one. But Mom had a lot of really fun activities leading up to her birthday this year.
So I went to Costa Rica by myself, and here I am alive to talk about it. I went for 10 days to Costa Rica, stayed pretty much in a teepee for 2 nights, and then I was in an Airbnb, but it turned out when I got there that the Airbnb was on an acre of land by itself, in the dark, off the beaten path, which was pretty scary in itself, but then I found a giant cockroach about this big.
Huge for the people who are not watching.
Yeah.
Huge.
Feasting on my toothbrush in the middle of the night. So needless to say, I slept with the lights on from that day forward.
And then from there, she met me in Orlando.
Yes, I did.
And as you guys know, we had Crime Con, and it was so great.
It was great.
We had a super great time. We met so many cool people. The true crime community, obviously you guys, most of you who are listening to this, are part of the true crime community. And like, I don't know, I just got such a, at first I was scared that there was going to be like some kind of active shooter situation. I was having quite a bit of anxiety. But everybody there was like so cool, so welcoming, so friendly, so
friendly.
Compassionate.
Yeah.
Like, we saw some really cool live tapings of things. Nancy Grace, we met Nancy, and if you guys
Nancy
know
Grace
us,
was cool as shit.
She was really cool. She was, and like just so genuine, and she was super cool. We watched a couple tapings of her podcast. She even called someone, like some guy we met. He was like, his mom was sick. She was going in for surgery, and Nancy called, like FaceTimed her. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
She's very down to earth.
Super down to earth. The twins were even there.
Yeah.
So me and Mom were like, we're twins. What else? Mike and Gibby.
Yeah.
So you guys
true crime
know
all
me.
the time.
Yes.
Danika's fangirled over Mike and Gibby for years now.
Yes. Mike and Gibby are even fucking cooler in person. So.
And now they're our best friends.
Yes. And now they're our best friends. And we're not just saying that either. They really are.
They really are, yeah.
So that was super cool. We met so many cool people, and like just we had a lot of fun. It was very needed. I hadn't left since before I had the baby with anyone except myself and my mom.
Yeah.
So you guys know, obviously, that was super great. I got to sleep in, and I'm no longer breastfeeding, so that's a bonus. Fucking 100 years later. But yeah, we had a great time. Very well needed. Very much needed.
Yeah, we pretty much just drove around when we weren't at CrimeCon and listened to 90s hip hop.
A lot of Pitbull.
Yeah.
A lot of Yang Yang twins.
We were supposed to have a small little car, like a Leaf or something, but we ended up with a Dodge Durango. So we had a big old party in the Dodge Durango.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Back and forth on the freeways.
Mm-hmm.
Danika wasn't supposed to be driving it.
But I was.
But she was. So
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. But yeah, we really just had a great time.
Yeah.
So while we were gone, not taping, obviously you guys know we took a little bit longer between. We've got a lot of really good suggestions for We asked for 48, 49. But Mom and I couldn't help but notice a theme, like especially being in America. And you guys know it's no surprise. We've said it 968 times about our justice system just being like a fucking joke, just to kind of put it plainly.
That's pretty plain, yeah.
Yeah. But before I get really into that, while we were away, it was actually 3 days ago. What is it, the 6th or the 7th today?
Today's the 6th.
Okay, so 2 days ago was the National Remembrance Day, or I guess, hold on. So, yeah, we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge October 4th, which was the National Day to commemorate missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and gender diverse persons. And we've touched on a case in Winnipeg that has led families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls to believe that some of their daughters, mothers, or friends' bodies may be in a landfill that authorities have until now refused to search.
And if you've seen, it's actually been a long time now that
was like
I'd say like a year and a half ago. Hashtag search the landfills has been trending.
Yes.
So it's been this long where it still hasn't even been acknowledged, looked at. People are basically, especially family members, like led to just be ignored.
Well, basically
honestly.
They're saying like, well, sorry, but we can't search that. It's too much for us.
Well, and at first they started saying, like when it first came up, they were saying that it's because the ground was frozen. Well, the ground has not been fucking frozen for a year and a half. So,
yeah, and it's about to be fucking frozen again. So let's go.
Yeah.
Speed it up.
And that all came out when the Jeremy Skibecki murder.
They came to light. We did touch on it briefly on an episode. Obviously, we're waiting for more to come out before we cover that case because it's going to be a good one because that's a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's a serial killer, and he's targeting. It's what we always see. You know, you target people who you don't think are going to be missed. But these people have families. These people have loved ones that do care where they are and do care if their bodies are in a landfill because how fucking horrible.
And I can't imagine like trying to reach out to get someone to listen to me if you had been murdered or you were missing and no one would even listen. That would break you so badly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to give a big shout to all those families that are still, you know, they've kept on keeping on. And so as of October 4th, the feds have now officially committed $740,000 to the search of the landfill where...
And hopefully,
I mean, that's the least you could fucking do. I don't.
Hopefully, they're going to be held accountable to doing that because.
Well, hopefully, and that's the thing, right? Is our government, to segue back into what I was saying before, our government for criminals and criminality, anything that has to do with that, there's not a whole lot of follow through. So, like I said, as much fun as we had on our trip, we could not help but notice the theme that kept coming up, especially when we're talking to all these American podcasters, American true crime fanatics. It's like, oh, you know, we touched on the Trina Hunt case. Like, yeah, he's just out free. I mean, we don't know who did it, but the person who is suspected of doing that and is really the only clear suspect in that case is out walking around. Yes, I understand you can only arrest somebody one time and charge them with something one time, or else, again, the way our justice system, the dysfunction of our justice system and the way it's laid out is absurd. So, but also then last night we were in bed watching true crime because it's not like we got enough of it during the day. Mom was just resting her eyes.
I was just listening.
She was just listening. I'm like, okay, I've heard that one before. You're sleeping. So, basically the constant revolving door of violent offenders, any kind of offender, but violent offenders just that keep coming back into our community. You guys know it always comes up on our podcast. It always comes up in our communities. You're constantly seeing it. And so we were laying in bed and we were discussing this again because, again, it was coming up. So as I was talking to Mom about it with her eyes closed, basically talking to myself, we received an email from a family member of someone named Sinara Lewis. And after we did some digging as to what this family member had told us, we learned that on September 6th of this year, so a month ago today, Sinara Lewis, who was 27 years old, was fatally stabbed The man that was responsible for her death and the attack of 3 other people, one in the same room as Sainara, but another 2 women, this guy had such a lengthy criminal record, and most of his offenses, surprise, surprise, were violent in nature and violent against women and authorities.
Yeah. So why the fuck is that guy out there walking around still?
No, and the thing is, these people do not just commit these acts and then that's it. Usually you can see these precursors, these, like we like to say, the neon flags showing, okay, this person has done this. That usually transitions into something more violent and more shocking and more all of these things.
Yeah, I mean, the trend is not that you get less violent as you go along.
No. So Sainara is and was described by loved ones as caring and selfless, and that she could see the good in everyone. It hasn't been made public how she knew her attacker, but it made us question for the thousandth fucking time. You like how I got a lisp with that one?
Yeah.
Why are these people being given so many chances? And why, like most violent offenders, it's not their first time offending. So
the more we looked at it and talked about it and, thought about it, we're going to bring to light some of the cases that...
Yeah, we're going to focus this episode on the constant revolving door of violent offenders entering in and out of our communities over and over again. So we have a couple cases that we want to touch on. Some of the cases you guys will know because we have touched on them before, but especially speaking to Canada, our justice system is so advocates. It advocates not for the victim, not for the families of the victim, but for the criminal. And like we're seeing it escalate every time and get worse and worse. So the first case I wanted to touch on is in September of 2014, 17-year-old Surrey resident Serena Vermeersch was on the bus in Surrey. She was just busing home from school like any person should be able to do, but she was followed off the bus as she walked home by someone named Raymond Casey. So again, this was in 2014. Yeah. Raymond strangled Serena with a piece of fabric, raped and murdered her before leaving her body by a set of train tracks.
And this is not a secluded area.
Not at all.
This is not a girl that was
open.
out in the dark. This is broad daylight in the middle of the day in a populated area that's surrounded by houses.
Exactly. So when a loved one, your daughter, your mother, your brother, who knows, anyone, when anyone's murdered by someone, it's horrible. But to learn that Casey was released from prison in June of 2013, so the year before, after serving a 22-year prison sentence for a violent sexual assault, that's going to really just put some salt in the wound. Because
it does, yeah, because he should still be in...
Yes.
The society should still be being protected from that person, and yet they're out.
Yeah, and when he left prison, the Surrey RCMP warned that he was a high-risk, opportunistic sex offender moving into the community. Documents released by the Parole Board of Canada showed that Casey was considered likely to harm or kill someone at the time of his release. So you know what? Let's just fucking let him back in the community.
Yeah, let's just do it.
So in September of 2017, he pled guilty to the murder of Serena. But he will be eligible after he serves 17 years for parole.
And he wasn't even that old.
No, and he already did 22 years.
Yeah.
What happens is you see these people go into prison, especially when they are sexual deviants. They go into prison. They think, how could I get away with it next time? Because this is a sickness.
Yeah.
It's a sickness that is in this, to even think about that in the first place, to even want to do that. Like, how do you fix somebody like that?
Well, you can't. I mean, he's institutionalized at that point, and he also has clearly no impulse control.
None.
So let's just let him out of jail. And
that's the thing. But why is he, yes, I understand people have rights, but when you murder somebody and you've already sexually assaulted someone, you are clearly progressing into now I'm going to murder this person so they can't testify against me, so they can't say, that's who did this to me. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And so yesterday I was reading an article just as I was looking on my phone.
It's all coming to us. Like it's all totally being like the power of this topic has just been attracted to us, and I believe it's something that we're hoping to bring awareness to. Maybe we
Definitely.
can find a solution. Maybe we can start the wheels turning.
Yeah. So yesterday, as I was reading, I think it was The Province on my phone because I didn't buy The Province, but it said in bold letters, repeat violent offender released again in Vancouver. So Mohammed Majidpour has more than 30 prior convictions, including assault and assault with a weapon. Earlier this year, he pled guilty to assault with a weapon for striking a 19-year-old stranger over the head with a metal pole and hurling a racial slur at her. And then later that day, setting fire to a car nearby.
And that's just this year.
That's literally the same day he did those 3 things. He's obviously, when you look at this guy, like, please go and Google him because he looks so mentally ill and so, like, he needs to be away. This was a stranger. This was someone that was just walking down. I mean, we've talked about the escalation of violence in Vancouver, and it's getting worse and worse. Every day I read anything, it's like, what the fuck?
And another thing is, he's known not to show back up to jail. Yeah. He goes on the lam all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so once you caught someone like that, just keep him.
I just saw, this isn't to do with that, but I just saw in one of the states, they brought in the death penalty for assault against children, like sexual assault. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, it should be.
You are murdering someone's soul when you sexually assault them, especially a child.
Yeah.
Why do murderers, violent criminals, and offenders that target children keep getting, why don't they just get one chance? Why don't they?
And I mean, clearly some people do not advocate for the death penalty.
No,
some
I get
people
that,
do.
yeah.
Like, it's a big controversial topic. However, if you had that to consider before you acted, I mean, even if it stopped at least one more person from sexually assaulting a child.
Yeah, how do we protect our loved ones in our communities if these people, because not to say that I've dated anyone on parole, but
you better not have.
Well, I have.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but that person would have to check in once a month and was still continuing. I mean, okay, it wasn't a healthy relationship. I was way younger, but continued to break the law. Obviously, they weren't a murderer. They weren't sexually assaulting anybody, but just they're breaking the law. So they're a criminal.
Well, we had someone that had killed someone living in our coach house before. And the person that he was supposed to check in with, thought he lived somewhere else, thought that he totally lived a lie to the probation officer.
Which to me is, I just can't wrap my head around it. And you know us, we're all for healing. We're all for trauma work on this podcast. That's fucking, I say that word every 5 minutes. I get that kind of stuff affects you and affects the trajectory that your life will go in. But after you commit such a violent offense, especially in any community.
Well, and you're not doing any restorative justice. You're just going around living like a skid, still hurting people.
Yes. So shouldn't you have your rights taken? I understand everyone has rights, but shouldn't they be taken?
Yes.
There's also a case I remember from being a little girl. Mom has more of the details, but I remember, obviously, I had a knack for true crime. So every time I would drive by going from my grandma's back home, there was a house with these heart shutters. And I remember my mom telling me, a guy mass murdered his whole family there. So I would always be like, oh my God. But
so this murder actually happened, and we haven't touched on this case yet. It's the families,
even the Serena Vermeersch case.
Yeah.
I don't think that
the families live close to us, and I mean, we obviously don't want to do bring things up that make people feel sad, but in this case, I think this is bringing up this repetitive thing that keeps happening over and over and over.
Well, and this was in what, 1990?
So this was in 1997.
Yeah.
And
but it's just showing the track record of it's 2023. Let's get our fucking shit together.
So this man had killed, David Gorton had killed his fiance, Heidi Shaland, and her 4 young children He bludgeoned them to death with an axe in 1997 in the house that he was sharing with her and her children. And they had met. She was a single parent. He was her neighbor. They had met each other. She obviously had no idea that in his past, he had previously, at the age of 19, stabbed his 17-year-old girlfriend 19 times and also stabbed his ex-wife.
Like,
and then she's just, like doing her
because
best
these
to
people
live her
shouldn't
life.
be
She
in our
has her
communities.
kids. She's met this man. She has no idea because there's nothing that he disclosed to her. And I mean, I'm assuming so. She can't tell us.
No.
But you would never
But
live
even
with
if
someone.
he did disclose it to her, why is he in the community? Why is he able
Exactly.
to date and able to be like, you can't stop these people from doing these things clearly. And we're shown that with every case.
And I mean, he's in jail now,
Oh,
but he shouldn't have even had the opportunity to do that.
So you guys remember, I believe it was episode 13, I think. We covered the rape and murder of 10-year-old Heather Thomas, who, again, is a local girl. She was from Cloverdale. You guys know, if you don't remember, go and listen. Because, I hate talking about the person who is responsible for these people's murders. I like to keep the victims at the forefront of everything. And that's why I really, really feel that we need to change the narrative of our justice system and the dysfunction and everything that's going on, because these people are, okay, this guy has been in jail for 20 years almost, okay? But they have said he's at an average risk to reoffend. So he had a long line of history of sexually assaulting young girls. So clearly this is a pattern for him. So he has recently, I think this was last year, but he recently applied for something called a escorted temporary absence from custody. So obviously when I read that, I was fucking mad, because it's like, huh? Yeah. You should, and it's for community service. Like, bro, your service to the community is to fucking stay in jail.
Yeah, the community could do without you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. But, of course, they're, because he confessed, because he says he's sorry, which, of course, you're in jail. If you know
and
that...
he didn't confess until he got caught.
No, he confessed, and then he recanted because he was like, oh, no, I didn't. But
and applied for a new trial. And
he
blah,
concocted
blah, blah.
an alibi. He did everything. So now, because they're saying that he shows capability for extreme violence. If you guys can't see me, I'm doing air quotes. Like, obvious fucking Lee, you horribly raped and murdered your neighbor, 10-year-old neighbor. Yeah. So it basically says that the written decision also notes that information on Shane Ertmode, dating back to 9 years before Heather's death, again shows these patterns of sexual assault. So the board, the great board of whoever you are, some kind of board, I don't even know because I'm getting heated, but they granted him these ETAs. So these leaves. So it's like, I don't know. You guys understand. I understand people can heal. I understand people can do all that stuff, but not after you've done something like that. Your rights should be taken away. Another case we haven't done is the death of Victoria Elizabeth Marie Stafford, who went by Tori. I think she was 9 years old. And she was abducted, raped, and murdered by Michael Rafferty and a woman named Terry Lynn McClintock. Her body was found 3 months later in a wooded area in rural Ontario. But in 2018, so 8 years later, McClintock was controversially, because it's fucking pissing everybody off, moved to a healing lodge in Saskatchewan that was run by the Correctional Service of Canada, blah, 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 blah.
And we have to say that she was actually the instrumental one because a guy she was seeing had this fantasy to do this.
Yeah, but it came out. It was her.
She actually went through and made everything happen.
Yeah, she
and
was
now
the
she's
one.
in a healing lodge.
Well, she's not now because she was moved back because Canada was like, no fucking way. I understand, okay, she's not in the community, but what the healing she needs to do, she needs to do up in heaven. Like, your chance here, or wherever the fuck you go, your chance here should be taken. You've already, like, we should have a one strike policy for people like that, for offenders. So another person who you guys will be familiar with, Karla Homolka.
Yes.
Karla Homolka is outliving her new life free after she murdered her sister and was responsible for murdering 4 other women with her husband.
And she has young children, and she's going to their school, and these
And
children, and
volunteering.
she's changed her name, and she's volunteering.
We all know who you are, Karla. We know you have a face of
we know
of fucking Karla Homolka. So, on episode 47 that we recently covered, Melanie Carpenter's killer. I don't even remember his name because I don't give a fuck, but he was a repeat
he had
violent
just
offender.
gotten out of jail early. Early.
So if you guys can see a pattern, I don't know. Clifford Olson was paid by the government. He was on the payroll when he was murdering children. He was a paid informant.
And he had been in and out of jail his whole life.
His whole life. Yeah. If you guys don't remember that, go back and listen to the Clifford Olson episode and get re-pissed off, because we need people in our communities to start voicing that they're not okay with this. Jatin Patel. Surprise, surprise,
who
episode
murdered
26.
Tracy Tom, was also in and out of prison his whole life.
He was in prison in the United States, and then came deported to our beautiful country, and continued.
And on the second day he was here, murdered someone.
Yes,
Tracy Tom, and then I think he served 7 years in jail.
Yeah, like I'm not understanding. So
there's people that have grown marijuana that are serving more time than people that have killed someone.
Yeah. And also, someone actually, while we were doing the digging into Sinara Lewis, I believe it's a family friend of hers had this TikTok video. And it was basically saying, in Canada, if you serve somebody alcohol at a party or an establishment, and that person goes on to crash their car, die, somehow, passes away, you are charged with murder. You are charged with murder, and you usually go to jail. I mean, here you'll probably get charged with murder and go to jail for 1 year.
Or 1 minute.
1 minute, exactly. There was also another case that I was reading, and it's a man who was being sentenced to 27 months. I didn't see his name, whatever, because it's not even, really all these people are in one big pool, right?
Yeah.
They're criminals, and violent criminals usually do have something that has led them there, whether it be trauma, whether it be a head injury, whether it be something, But this guy got a sentence of 27 months, and he said to them, please do not let me out in 27 months. I will do this again. I need more time than that. Please. What did they do? They let him out. What did he do? He went on to continue to violently offend. So if these people are saying to the government, no, please, shouldn't that be something that you need to look at, that you need to say, you know what, well, maybe we need to keep you in jail?
And the cost thing, I mean, that doesn't even add up, because I realize that it costs a lot of money to house people
I would rather
in
house
jail.
them. We're paying
but
for it.
In the long run, you're saving money because you don't have to go through another trial, dealing with providing aftercare for victims, housing someone all over again.
Preach.
Yeah, all of it, all of the juries you have to pay. Like,
yeah,
it's honestly ridiculous.
And again, to say it again, I am someone who really believes in healing. I believe that if you've been through stuff in your life, you can heal through that, but not when you take it to that extreme. I do not believe that somebody who is showing these patterns of behavior is able to be rehabilitated. There's no such thing as rehabilitation for child sex offenders, for murderers. Obviously, there's things that you can be charged with murder if you didn't even commit. So when you look at the opposite side, at our neighbors on both sides, both bottom and top, America, it is to the other opposite extreme. So Mom and I were literally sitting down after our first night of CrimeCon at a dinner.
And we had our hats on that said "Murder with My Mother."
And our badges on that were our true crime or our CrimeCon badges. And the hostess sat us and was like, oh, what are you guys here for? And we're like, oh, we're here for the crime convention. We have a podcast, Murder with My Mother. And I've touched on this before. Mom and I both have this, I don't know if it's an energy or something that people feel like strangers that I've been sitting beside for 5 seconds will just tell me everything. They're like, oh my God, I don't know why I just told you that. I'm used to it.
I passed it on.
You did, but I feel like mine's even like heightened. Like it's
Next
crazy.
level.
So as we're telling her about our murder podcast, she's like, can I be real with you guys? And we're like, okay. And this is our hostess. And she goes, I just got out of jail after 10 years for murder. Okay, so we are like, what? And again, extenuating circumstances. There were things that had happened in her life where she was not actually the perpetrator of the murder, but because she did not
go to the
report
police
it right away
after it happened, and it was
there's so much
it was a gang related,
but not
situation.
really.
It was a situation that went bad.
Yes, but out of her control, it went bad. And then because she didn't report it,
because she was scared.
She was very young.
Yeah.
She was 16 years old when this happened. She had a child already. And then when she was arrested, she was pregnant. So she was forced to give birth in jail. She was a victim of domestic violence. So obviously you're not going to tell on somebody who you're afraid of, right? But in this country, let's say that she was in the same situation. She wouldn't have even done, and even
they probably wouldn't have even came to her house to interview her.
No, especially here.
But she did 10 years. She did a plea bargain for 10 years.
And every other person, so there was 6 in total, every other person got life. Yep. So she was like, fuck that, I'm taking a plea because, and of course it differs from state to state, but that just shows you that there needs to be some kind of middle ground. There needs to be something that we can do that there's, a checklist of, okay, you were drinking and driving. Okay, you know what? You need to have a breathalyzer. They do that stuff. This is your 5th time drinking and driving. Let's put a breathalyzer in your car. Even those, fucking someone else can blow into it for you.
You get your kid to do it.
I've seen that before. Not from you or anything. Not from mom, but there's loopholes in our system that people can get around.
Because we're a too polite society.
We are. And again, if there were something where if this is your 2nd time doing an offense, I feel like you should be put into a whole different category. Yeah. Even the case of Tim McLean, who was murdered on the Greyhound bus. Okay, I'm all for, advocating for mental health. Obviously, the perpetrator of that was found to have very bad mental health, very poor mental health. But he murdered somebody, a stranger, in public, and then went on to consume his body parts, do all of that horrible stuff. Should he not be in somewhere for the rest of his life, not out with a new identity, living freely in our community?
Yeah. Yeah, like who's to say he's
What if he didn't take his meds?
Yeah.
What if he didn't take his meds and he's at fucking Walmart and bites a kid's head? You don't know what's going to happen because he's already shown that he can do all of these things. He is capable of horribly murdering somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Where does any of it end?
No, it does not make sense. So we really want to kind of, I mean, it's funny because all of our episodes mostly we are talking about this because every case you're like, oh, and then they got out and then they went to do it again. Then they got out and then they went to do it again. And then they got out and then they escalated. Yeah. Even the Abbotsford killer, right? I don't even remember his name either because who cares? But he took the life of one person, but he was doing all of these things his whole life.
Yeah.
Like there's the triad of the McDonald triad, right? Obviously, you're not going to lock everyone away who like pisses their bed and like sets fires. If you're setting fires, you should probably be in jail anyway. Probably not here, but
yeah, I mean,
killing animals, like there's things that come
there are
up.
Warning signs. 100%.
And I know that there's been a couple people who have been like found to be on that trajectory that have been in the newspapers and stuff like that. But now where are they? Probably waiting, plotting, and like thinking about when the perfect time to make a move is. We saw it even in, you know, like this is going into a different country, but the suspect in the Idaho killings is someone with a PhD.
Yeah.
Who thought probably, you know, just I could get away with that. I could commit the perfect murder.
Who knows? Maybe he will.
Or maybe he did before. We don't know.
We don't know.
Right? I mean, hopefully he's in jail. He stays in jail. But again, that's in the United States. So just the total opposite end where we're like this. We're on this end, they're on the other, and there's no middle for like people when we would tell them about some of the cases, when we would be like, oh, and then this one, and then this one, and then their jaws would be on the ground because it's like, how are these people
just out walking around living their best life?
Meanwhile, someone has a doobie there when, you know, like it's like you jaywalking, you probably go to jail for like 6-7 years. It's like, how do we do this? So, I mean, I just heard that Trudeau is censoring podcasts, which I'm sure just mentioning his name right now.
Pray for us.
Censored. But I mean, we are thinking of ways, we're trying to brainstorm. Like I have every single MP for every city in the country. I have all their phone numbers and addresses. So what I'm going to get everybody to do, I mean, this is my thought. It's like, how do we change this? We have to come together. We have to band together to change this because it's our children, it's our communities, it's our loved ones that are going to be the victims of these opportunistic, like this guy bashed a stranger on the head with a pole.
And now
I think he's the same guy who stabbed the DoorDash driver.
Yeah.
Like he's probably not, but it's like that's how many people are in the community that at any given time could just snap.
Even on, as you guys know, because I've talked about it, the weirdos that I met online dating, there was even cases of people that are suspected of homicide.
Mm-hmm.
One is now deceased, but he was the partner of Amber Manthorne on the island, who's missing and has never been found. He was on online dating.
He was actively dating people.
Actively dating after this.
Even there's another guy that I saw on that group, and it was like this guy was like the balcony rapist or something, and like was like going up and climbing up women's balconies and raping them, and now he's just on dating apps,
right? Like you don't know who you're meeting here.
You don't. And again, if you are a offender who is repeating these same behaviors, it's not going to change. It's not just going to like, oh, I was in jail, everything's fixed, I'm good, let's go.
It's like, okay, well, now I'm just going to do it again because nothing's going to happen.
And I'm going to probably escalate. So again, we are saying the same thing over and over and over in this episode because we're just I'm flabbergasted, really. I mean, it's nothing new.
No.
It hasn't, it's not like this has changed like over, you know, a couple years. My whole life living in this country, it's been like that.
So what can we do as a society, as a public? I mean, we can write to our MPs. If there's enough of us, maybe they'll look at it. I mean, it took a year and a half to get them to agree to even invest any money to search the landfill.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what we plan to do, is just, we're doing this episode to raise awareness.
Well, I don't understand why our government is so focused on, you know, we don't have news on social media anymore, whatever. Maybe they have their own idea of what that's going to make better. But why don't you start to focus on the things that will actually help the people who live in your country, like, you know, probably keeping violent offenders behind bars. Maybe gas shouldn't be fucking $900.
I was going to say, lower the fucking gas prices.
Gas. Groceries. Like groceries in 1 week of grocery shopping, I get basically the same shit every week, okay? Like people who have kids, you know, like things are going up. My grocery shop was $75 more expensive than the week before. In a week. I don't understand.
So crazy. Price gouging.
But it's like, put your focus on those things that actually matter. The number one thing that matters is keeping the people who live in your country safe.
Safe, and letting it be so that they can actually live their lives without starving to death or being homeless. And I think censoring a podcast could probably wait until you get all that other shit under
censoring
control.
The news, because it's like, do you not want everyone to see what's going on? Like, we all know what's going on. It's like he doesn't want to see other people because Canadian news is not allowed on any social media in any country.
It's so strange.
It is. It's weird. It's strange. It's given me
the heebs.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, but at least.
Well, I think that I guess we could sit here and rant all day long about it. We wanted to bring you guys something that kept coming up for us over and over, and I'm definitely going to sit down myself and compose some heartfelt words for my member of parliament. I believe Denika is going to do the same thing.
I am. And I honestly, I encourage all of you guys to do the same thing because this is a time where our, enough is enough and we need to make a change.
Been enough.
It's been enough. It's like, what the fuck? Even the faint hope clause, the sick fuck clause, where you guys know that's what I like to call it. It's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But
it's because
why was it even a thing?
Yeah. It's because someone challenged it and because it went so horribly wrong.
But it's like, why?
But it was a thing for a long time.
It was. And it's like just giving these family members, like, imagine the upset that you feel even being in the same room as the person that took your life and fucking tore it up. Like, they killed a member of they killed your child. If we go back to Clifford Olson, he killed 11 kids.
And then the families had to be faced with him once a year.
And not only that, he was paid money to tell them which, obviously you want to know at the end of the day where your child is, right? You want to know where your child's body is. You want to be able to have that closure. There's never closure when someone murders your child. There's never closure when someone murders somebody that you love. And especially when it's the 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th person, but then to pay him money and then let him torment the families when he's in jail.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it. The best is all the Americans' faces were like, what the fuck? Like, you can't, I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah. So
it makes me like I'm getting sweaty. Good thing I put 6 layers of deodorant on. I switched to natural.
I only put one. So
well, you're not getting gross. Mom's tired today. I was like, I'm tired.
I'm 50.
But I'm tired. I'm tired of violent criminals being in our communities, being able to do that. So we received a lot of really good case suggestions for these cases, but we wanted to really just make this the main focal point, and we are going to go hard at this. Like,
yeah,
maybe Mom not today because you're a little tired.
Well,
she's 50 now and her hip hurts. So, but
once I get my hip replacement and I have a good night's sleep, I'm on it.
AK never. So, but I don't know. I feel very strongly about this.
Yeah, we're passionate about it for sure. And I mean, it would be really great if we could have less violent crime in our society, and the way it's going right now with the pandemic and everyone's mental health being so terrible is that it's on the rise.
It is, and it has been. And even if it wasn't on the rise, like even if COVID never happened before, our justice system has been shit in the bed for fucking a long, long time.
Since it was invented.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things our government has done that I'm not proud of, and like, I just live here. Like, I just pay taxes and live here. I don't agree with a fucking thing really that happens here, especially not in the last couple of years. Yeah. Just in, everything. But yeah, the government's focus should really be on fixing this. And even if we had let's say a separate jail that is just for people who maybe have finished their sentences and go there to just die. Like, I don't know. I would be fine to pay my taxes. I would raise my taxes $100. I'll pay for that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone in the community would have an issue. We have an issue paying for all this other shit because our government is giving money away constantly. I'm going to get censored now for sure because I'm fucking shitting on Trudeau in this one. Even his wife doesn't want to be with him. Like, let us divorce you.
Oh. We'll see you on the dark web.
Yeah, we will probably not be streaming on any podcast platforms. But it's okay. We do it pretty deep into the episode. So maybe maybe no one's really listening to the whole thing.
Got distracted by raising gas prices while we were talking.
Yeah. So again, we're really hitting that one home.
We are going to, obviously, if you're counting, and next episode is episode 50, and we have something major planned for episode 50.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back, I guess, probably next week.
Yeah. I think next week.
I think so
We're
too.
gonna be back
Because
next
week. we've been
I don't
really
really say that to you guys. Like, you'll see us when you see us. You'll hear us when you hear us. Like, fuck.
Yeah, if
I
you're
feel
a
bad.
cool kid, you'll know when we're back.
Yeah. You have the.
Hopefully, it won't be 2 months from now like last time.
Yes, we. I don't know. Just to kind of, go off to another topic. The violent offenders really pissed me off. No. Yeah. But there's so many cases that we were sent. There's so many cases.
Yeah.
And there was even it was funny because obviously every person that we talked to, we were in the shoe store. Cindy, shout out. I should have shouted you in the beginning because you're probably like, she didn't give me my fucking shout out. I'm changing the
Cindy,
episode.
I hope you watched listened or watched the whole
Whatever,
episode because here we are.
Here we are. But, we tell people, oh, we're here in town for this. Okay, this was after we drove by Casey Anthony's house.
We went by Casey Anthony's house. We went by where Kaylee, unfortunately, was her resting place where they dumped her, basically
dumped her like a dead animal.
And then we went to the shoe store right next to there where Cindy worked. And she actually, Casey Anthony's mom is always in that shoe store. So she had some juicy dish for us on her.
And also another case of a friend of hers that was on the People's Court. And I mean, I remember this case.
Me too.
Was on the People's Court with her ex. And then the next day she was missing.
Yeah, the day she was
The day it was supposed to air.
Yeah.
She was missing and never been found since.
The thing about Florida is fucked up shit happens in Florida.
A lot. While we were there, an alligator had a freaking dead body in its mouth. It's like just Florida is a place.
Florida's next level.
Well, the best part ever too is after our dinner, I said to Mom, the dinner where we met somebody who said that she was in jail for 10 years. We were sitting and we were close to the restaurant, but there were so many different ways to go and walk or whatever. And so afterwards, I'm like, you know what? I wish I could really do something. Like, I want to make a change. I'm going to be a judge. And then Mom's like, you should do it. And then I'm like, what do I have to do? And then she's like, you have to be a lawyer. First of all, I should probably fucking know that because I probably shouldn't be a judge if I didn't know you have to be a lawyer first. But I was like, oh God, I don't think I could do that. But then it was like, I wish that we could make a change and a difference just in general, right?
Yeah.
So as we are sitting, this was like 3 hours later, we're going to sit, we're downstairs just sitting outside our hotel, enjoying the humidity. And there's me, Mom, and then an empty chair. And all of a sudden, what do you know? The girl, the hostess, walks by and it's like, that's the fucking universe.
Yeah.
So she sat with us and she told us all of this stuff, so much stuff. And it's like, obviously.
It was definitely a surreal experience.
It was,
for sure.
yeah.
We're there for Crime Con. We're sitting there with a girl that just got out of jail for murder, talking about like
all the shit she saw. Like,
Yeah.
and she was, you have to remember, 16 when she went in here. So my thought is, okay, a 16-year-old with severe trauma, domestic violence situation, she's pregnant. Okay, this is my Canada, like my Canadian law. Like, why? How'd you even go to jail? Because we're not used to that. But it's like, just to show you do not become better from being in jail. Not
No.
saying anything against her, but you become very institutionalized.
totally.
So there's that other end of it, right? But yeah, it was just so surreal. It was just very like,
Yeah, it was crazy.
Is this
for
real
sure.
life? Like the universe. And then another person we would give a shout out to is Trey from the Best Western.
Trey was. I don't know
Trey
if we're
gave me
supposed
some
to
of his
say
wing-
this because
Whoa.
I think it's against the law. But Trey let us eat his food that he got on
Well, no,
DoorDash.
It was Wingstop, and it was the lemon pepper remix wings. Which
So that makes
we don't
it
have
okay.
that here. Obviously, we have nothing fucking.
So we
good
ate
here.
Trey's wings.
Just a bunch of violent criminals.
even though he was the
Yeah.
night manager of our hotel.
Yes, but he was super cool, very smart, very articulate. Like
Yeah.
the shit that he was talking about, like, yeah, he
And
was the
yeah.
one. Yeah, he told me a bunch of stuff about our government, which I'm not going to repeat because if I'm not
Yeah,
getting
we're gonna get
censored,
censored for
we're
sure.
already censored. But yeah, I'll say it when we record our first dark web episode. But yeah, shout out to Trey, you were awesome. And then another cool thing is I heard it back from they've been emailing me. The top the top 100 mother-daughter podcasts. They want me to give them a shout out. So I think this is what they meant, maybe in a comment. I don't fucking know. But we are number 3.
Woo!
Yeah, officially out of 100. So that's like, we know how many there were. So That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Even
Even though we'll be gone after this one.
Yeah, you guys will never hear. We'll never give you episode 50. And
then there was someone also that you wanted to give a shout out from Scotland.
Yes. So her name is Crystal, and she is a follower now of ours all the way from Scotland. So
fuck yeah, Crystal.
Yeah. Hope you make it to this episode. Because she's just, yeah, I don't know. She said we're fucking awesome. So I think that's what she said. But yeah.
That's what we heard.
That's what we heard. But no, we appreciate all the new love, the continued love. We got our first Patreon person.
We did.
Yeah.
Mike Gibson, I would like to say thank
it's
you
actually
very
Rex
much.
West. So that's his
Rex
alter
West.
ego.
Okay.
Yes. But no, it's really cool to see everybody's support. And I think the longer you're on the internet, the more people will stumble across you. I'm sorry
That's what I thought about my porn career.
No, we retired
Just
Nana
kidding.
Toes. We retired. Mom's hip is too sore now, so she's 50. You probably go into like a different category once you hit 50.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know, with your big background and
Yeah.
only, what was it? Only, we were thinking not OnlyFans, but only, there was something else. It was like we were doing an
Nana's toes.
Nana's Toes. Yeah, well, but that didn't take off, so. Except for that one guy that commented on that picture of my toes. Like my toes, and it was creepy. Mom put a picture of my feet on the internet, and some guy was like, oh, beautiful feet. I was like, oh. But anyway, awkward. But
Sidebar.
segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to bring you guys episode 50 next week.
And I'm really excited for you guys to come back and participate in listening to episode 50.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well,
excellent. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with us.
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot going on, trying to juggle all these hats that I'm wearing lately. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
So, but enough of our rambling. That was episode 49 of Murder with My Mother, the true crime podcast where I talk murder and violent criminals that reoffend every 5 minutes with my mother. Love you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.